This very well could be the final show we have before the Kansas City Royals have either punched their ticket or I guess are knocking on the door of the postseason. Trying not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but things are looking pretty good. Let's break it down and talk about it on a brand new episode of the One World Away podcast.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Back like we never left on a September 17th, 18th, depending on when you're listening to this. Definitely not live podcast. Jordan Foote, Joel Penfield, Josh Keiser. If you guys, before we get going here, would like to earn an extra $500, go to bluewirepods.com/survey, complete the Blue Wire audience survey about you and your podcast listening habits for a chance to win a $500 gift card. Seems like a pretty good deal to me. The survey is going to help create a better advertising experience for the audience and in turn help the show. So again, bluewirepods.com/survey, where all you have to do is answer some simple questions for a chance to win $500. Read the full terms and the disclaimer, plus complete the survey for a chance to win. bluewirepods.com/survey. The link is also in the show notes of the episode. Without further ado, we'll go to the left box here, right box, or I guess it's my left. Someone else is right. Joel, what's up, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Another good week. We're getting that much closer. Only, I think, 10 games left after tonight. So we're in the home stretch. It's we're heading down. It's going to be a lot of fun. Fun last couple of weeks of baseball. Stressful for sure, but again, I don't think I'd have it any other way. That I get to kind of sweat out some September baseball and figure out when the Royals are going to punch their ticket. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm doing swell. Same. A lot of the same feelings. Excitement. Be honestly, it's been a very tiring season, but it's been a very fun ride. Short season, even though it's been kind of a grind. So a lot of feelings, but always happy to be here with you boys and to all of our listeners, all of our chatters who are definitely not chatting live, obviously, but happy to hang out with all the folks that we're hanging out with tonight. Jordan, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. The magic number is 8 as of entering Tuesday's play. Those numbers will obviously change. Then by the time some of you are listening, it's also going to be different. So 3-3, the Royals were since the last time we talked, if you're including that Tuesday game against the Yankees, which they won, finished up that series with a loss, then took 2 of 3 against Pittsburgh, lost the opener against the Tigers. And as we are definitely not live, I believe it was 1-1 when we launched the beginning of this show. So for me, I think just jumping into the individual things that stood out, Seth Lugo in the second game against the Yankees, the 7 innings, 10 punchies, 3 hits, no walks, no runs, was just absolutely fantastic. And then Alec Marsh had a pretty good outing on the 13th against Pittsburgh in that 8-3 win. Those two things stood out to me. Bobby Witt Jr. in the loss in the opener against Detroit with the grand slam. Absolutely insane performance from him, bringing in some runs that will, satisfy certain podcast members who said he was washed a couple weeks ago. But yeah, Joel, what stood out to you?
I think Bobby Witt Jr. hitting a couple accolades this week, 200 hits on the season. First time, I believe, since what Merrifield did it back in like 2016, 17. It sounds about right. And then tonight, early in the game, gets his 30th stolen base. First shortstop to have back-to-back 30-30 seasons in the history of baseball. And Ian Kraft tweeted out only the 8th player in Major League history to have back-to-back 30-30 seasons, regardless of position. First since Ryan Braun back in the early 2010s. So rarefied air for Bobby Witt Jr. Just continues to be amazing, continues to put this team on his back and drag him to October. Not much more you can say. He's flat out incredible. 3 walks tonight. I know, considering weighted runs created plus his value, that's part of the valuation of it is being able to get on base. He's at 9.9 WAR right now. We might wake up tomorrow morning with Bobby Witt Jr. hitting double digits in wins above replacement this season.
That'd be sexy. That'd feel real nice to wake up to a little Christmas morning, if you will. That'd be a lot of fun. I didn't have like an individual thing really. I had two things that kind of pulled out of the whole week, and I could save the save one for our spotlight segment. But this one was kind of like between the Yankees series and the Pirates series. the Royals dropped 2 out of 3 to the Yankees. It felt like that last game was very winnable. Took it to extra innings, and at that point, it was kind of like, okay, I don't feel great about this. We kind of threw our good arms. Bubic did come in, and if it hadn't been for the ghost runner situation, probably would have gotten out of that inning with a bunch of soft contact. And Bobby almost threw out the runner at home instead of the walk-off single to Chisholm. So
it was a crazy
it was very,
play.
very close to, it was an insane play that he even made it that close. But coming out of that series, I did feel pretty good because the Yankees are obviously one of the best teams in the AL. It's not the Major League Baseball right now. Felt good taking them to the limit in a 3-game series in New York against a really tough lineup where they were throwing out their A lineup every time. So I felt really good about that. Then we went to Pittsburgh and felt like they really should have had a sweep there. And I felt a little bit more discouraged than I did losing 2 of 3 to the Yankees than I did taking 2 of 3 from the Pittsburgh Pirates. So that last game was very sloppy and a lot of problems with that. But ground and double play for Mike Massey. Great job of base load. Here we go. Things are sloppy. Running a scoring position is a problem. We're going to talk about that later, but I did feel good coming out of that Yankees series, a little bit better than I did not taking the whole series sweep against the Pirates.
Yeah, no, I think so. And they have reasons to feel okay on the health front. I don't want to necessarily say a lot better. I don't want to say a lot worse. Chris Stratton on the 15-day IL, right forearm flexor strain, 5.5 ERA this season. I don't think that it's going to be that detrimental to the team. Angel Zerpa, he's just kind of kept chugging along. 4.28 ERA this year. We're all aware of what he's done for the big league club, but an ERA under 1 in Omaha. One of those guys that very clearly at this point in his career is too good to be down in Omaha just pitching away. And, a couple tweaks and he can help the big league bullpen. So that is positive. Josh Taylor sent on his rehab assignment. Got moved to Omaha, which is good for him. The big one to kind of break down is James MacArthur, and it's been diagnosed as a grade 1 UCL sprain, which does not sound fantastic. Anytime you hear elbow with a pitcher, it's bad, and then you hear tightness with a pitcher, it's bad, and then you put those two together, you're like, oh, that's not good. The Royals are shutting him down for 5 to 7 days, hoping that he isn't done for the season. Steven Cruz has been recalled in his place. So, Josh, what do you think the Royals are losing with MacArthur? And then do you have any thoughts on kind of what they're getting back with Cruz coming back up to the big league club?
I feel like MacArthur definitely has some upside. He was, in the month of August, shoving pretty well. And it's one of probably the best run he'd had this season. Looked really, really good. He was spinning the ball really well, had command really well. So he was a very high functioning pitcher in a lot of low, medium leverage situations, but it is what it is. Like, he was still, pitching pretty well. So it's tough to see him have a couple rough outings. It's almost a little bit encouraging to see that he was dealing with a little bit of a thing. So not that I want to see him injured, but at least it kind of explains a little bit of maybe why he was being ineffective here down the stretch. So it's never good to see a guy get injured, and definitely not James MacArthur, because I think everybody is rooting for him. They give him a little bit of time to figure this stuff out. And I do like Steven Cruz a lot. I think that there is some upside there. He's had a good year in Omaha. He's had a cup of coffee in the majors this season. I like what I've seen from him. Got some interesting stuff. So I'm curious to see what it does on the major league level. But it is kind of like a lateral move as far as where MacArthur has been this season. And I think Cruz can also have some similar upside to what MacArthur has shown.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't like to hear elbow or forearm strain with any pitcher. Like, that is a major red flag. Like, flexor strain, for those that may remember, that was the injury that Chris Bubic had last year. It was a left forearm flexor strain, which led to him needing Tommy John surgery. You don't want to just go and believe right away that that's what it's going to be, but that's generally a precursor type injury. So for a guy like Stratton in his mid-30s, like, I would hate for that to happen, because who knows what the career looks like for him beyond that, coming off of TJ in his mid-30s off of a subpar year. Like, that sucks. You just don't want to see that for anybody. And then for MacArthur, an elbow sprain, like, and they called it elbow tightness yesterday. Like, again, that's just not something you want to hear if you're a pitcher, because you just don't want anything. It's already hard enough to throw a baseball with an unnatural motion that anytime you hear that, it's just concerning. And like, you said MacArthur had been pretty solid over the last 6 weeks or so after a stretch in June and July when he was almost unplayable. And seems like he had kind of turned things around. They reshifted roles a little bit. Ursig locking down the ninth seems like it freed up a lot of guys, and MacArthur being one of them, where it's like, hey, you don't have to cover the eighth unless a couple of guys are tired. You can cover the sixth and seventh. And it seemed like he kind of got a little bit of his confidence back and pitched pretty well last night until the injury. So hopefully it's okay. And it's, he's able to cover some innings in the postseason if they need it, because I think he can in a lower leverage spot or in like the sixth or, like I said, the sixth or seventh. I think you can probably pencil him in to that type of role. I'm still very fascinated by Steven Cruz, but I don't know what I'm going to get out of him because the sample size is so small. But him changing up his repertoire a little bit and throwing a lot of cutters is intriguing. And I'm kind of curious over the next couple of weeks what he's able to do and how they utilize him.
MacArthur in the month leading up to getting hit, or I don't know why I said hit, getting hurt. 3.37 FIP, 13 strikeouts.
He got hit plenty as well.
Yeah, he also got hit plenty. The other injury updates: Michael Lorenzen is rehabbing in Omaha. I didn't want to call it a setback, but a little bit more sore than usual after he had a 3.1 inning rehab start on Friday. He's going to throw a live BP on Saturday if all goes well, as well as Will Smith. So I think one of those guys can probably help them more than the other one. Come end of regular season, beginning of postseason, you can, guess which one I'm referring to. That's all for the injury updates. So nothing too crazy. Still kind of the Hunter Harvey situation is looming over them like a dark cloud. And I think that, again, I think I said last week, just bank on him not being able to provide anything. And then if he does, then great. But if not, then they're not missing out. So you guys have any kind of final thoughts on injuries or availability or, a postseason bullpen assortment, something like that?
I think the bullpen's in decent shape when the postseason rolls around. I think we've talked about it a few times. It's going to have an upgrade with a couple of those starters kind of converting to the bullpen. I wouldn't put them on the same levels as like a Baltimore or a Houston or anything like that, but it will be better. I think
it becomes a lot more palatable. I think that's why I'm 100%. Generally like for the next couple of weeks, like I'm not pulling my hair out about the bullpen because I know that at that first week of October, it's going to look a hell of a lot different, and it's going to be in a lot better position for the Royals to keep themselves in ball games.
Yep. We're going to talk about a couple things related to the rest of September and then also October. But first, let's hit a quick break. We'll be right back.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com. When you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you play on repeat and you just have to share it with your friends so they can experience it too? That's kind of what it feels like when you discover that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless service for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. It's such an awesome deal, there's no way you can keep it to yourself. Friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. Say bye-bye to overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your squad with premium wireless plans starting at just $15 per month. And if you're worried about using your own phone or bringing along your phone number and your contacts, Mint Mobile has you covered there as well. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSN, the #1RW. That's mintmobile.com/KCSN1RW. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSN1RW. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Shout out to Nick Springer. Spread out to Nick Springer real quick because he reads that live every time. If for some reason he's like upside down, he hangs upside down like a bat every time. Very strange choice by Nick Springer, but very good job again. Shout out to him.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal ad read. If you guys are interested in furthering the conversation beyond the show, you can do so on the KCSN hotline powered by our good friends at Mint Mobile at 913-407-6524. Again, 407-6524. You can hit that hotline with questions, comments, concerns, ideas, thoughts, guesses, hypotheses, formulas, whatever you want to do. So 913-407-6524. We had a good question from the Definitely Not Live live chat here on YouTube from our good friend Brady. How much weight do people put into 30-30 seasons asking for a certain MVP candidate? Can you think of who he's referring to? Is it a Royals player that's in the MVP race or
Juan
top
Soto,
2 or 3?
probably.
I mean,
Yeah.
it could be, but I mean, as I said in the chat, I replied to him on the YouTube chat that pinstripes and home runs in a Little League ballpark are greater than a 30-30 season.
Yeah.
When Judge got on that heater in July where he just couldn't stop hitting homers, I guarantee most people that have an MVP vote submitted their ballot. Like they were just done. That's exactly what it boils down to. And let's just be honest too. Most of these East Coast people yes, I will throw out an East Coast bias thing. I don't care if it's a stupid trope as a Kansas Cityan. They're not watching the Royals.
Yeah.
They're just not. They're not staying up to watch the Royals, even if it's an hour behind. They're not going to tune in to Royals Tigers because they don't care. They just want to watch their Red Sox and Yankees and Mets and Phillies and then go to bed. And that's all the baseball they want to watch. Yeah, well,
hit the Dodgers later, like probably watch that in the morning or
maybe. Well, yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, Shohei Ohtani hit another homer. Oh, okay, cool, MVP." Like
cool.
that's all
MVP.
you're doing. You're just watching Shohei Ohtani highlights. They're not watching the Dodgers.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a stupid facile rant, but like sometimes Occam's razor, the most obvious solution is the correct one. That's kind of how it feels and what it boils down to.
I think that's Schrodinger's cat, but or Pavlov's dogs. I'm not real sure which.
I have no clue what the hell we're talking about. By the way,
the thing about that is the race kind of opened back up there with the Rubble and Crew curse from Aaron Judge, and then especially with Bobby coming to town. And to be honest with you, like he hit some home runs during that stretch, but like the on-base percentage wasn't great. He was not protected by Vinny at that point anymore. We're late in the season, so it's tough to, get on one of those heaters like we needed Bobby to get to at that point. So it was there for the taking. It just wasn't lining up correctly. And like I said, the injury to Vinny definitely hurt his case quite a bit in that situation. But at the same time, it's a damn shame that either one of these seasons by one of these guys is going to get shut out, because like no doubt about it, Aaron Judge is an absolute beast, and the fact that he can
I'm not
down,
taking away anything from Aaron Judge.
100%.
It's just the simple fact that he got that home run heater, and that kind of decided it.
Plus, we're going to bat for a guy. I mean, we'll call a spade a spade. Like Bobby being a superstar is huge for us, but I've heard a lot of people say that like the Yankees being good is good for baseball. 100% true. Aaron Judge being an AL MVP probable candidate and winner is good for baseball, no doubt about it, I think. But it's not good for baseball when a small market team has a superstar like Bobby Witt Jr. Even though that's what they have, it's not overall good for baseball where Aaron Judge is. So I get the politics of it. It sucks and it's bullshit, but it is what it is.
Well, and where I'm at is two things. One, it's not that Aaron Judge doesn't deserve to win MVP, because I absolutely think he does. And if I was up there filling out my ballot, I'd have a hard time choosing between the two. But it's the fact that Bobby Witt Jr. had an MVP season. And like Josh said, one of the two can't win MVP. And you can make the argument and say Bobby Witt Jr. is a younger player. His best baseball, or at least on this level, is ahead of him for several years to come. Like, he will have opportunities, and I would almost bet now that he would win an MVP, if not multiple MVPs, with how he's played. But some of it is out of his control. The team would have to be better, presumably, if that's a deciding factor. And you're a top 2 seed in the American League, or top 3 if you're a division winner. Or it depends on how the other guys do, because now clearly Bobby Witt Jr., man, if you're putting up a 10 F4 season and you're playing elite defense and you're doing the 30-30 crap and all that stuff, and you're having the signature moments all summer, and it's not enough, when is it enough? You know what I mean? So it's just one of those conversations where he deserves the MVP. I think that Judge does as well. But that's kind of where I'm at. So we cleaned up that part of the show here. Josh, your takeaway this week is just clean it up in general. So I'm interested to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mentioned the last game in Pittsburgh. It seemed like there were a lot of opportunities that the Royals, had that they really could have taken advantage of. And we're not talking about just runners in scoring position, which since Vinny went down, so basically since the beginning of September, they have a 639 OPS with runners in scoring position. That's like 23rd. So that's something that they've hung their hat on all year. So the fact that they aren't doing it now is tough. That was one of the things that Vinny was very good at. And the other thing that Vinny was very good at was productive outs. Like a lot of people were talking about like him overall, his season, his slash line wasn't necessarily what you wanted from Vinny Pasquantino, but he was hitting RBIs. And that was because he was hitting sac flies. He was getting guys over. He was giving good at bats. He was taking walks. He's protecting Bobby behind there, letting him roll the bases around. So it is obvious that there is a big hole in the lineup, even if I do like what I've seen from the guys that they brought in at the time. So I do like it, but at the same time, like you got to be able to make those at least the productive outs. That's just fundamental baseball. In that one Pittsburgh Pirates game 3 alone, they had 6 attempts at getting some kind of productive out, and they came through one time. They didn't move the guy over. They didn't hit a sac fly. They didn't do anything that you would do in a baseball fundamental type of way. They got one time, one sac fly that turned into an RBI. So that stuff's kind of bothering me. The other part about that is the fielding seems to be a little bit sloppy lately as well. There's been, like what we talked about, the Bobby play was an outstanding play to get the ball, and then he threw the ball away. It happened again last night where he made an outstanding play, threw the ball over first base and allowed a run to score. So I wanted to kind of look at if there's been some kind of trend as far as the defense being poor in any kind of way to fit my narrative to make it sound like there's actual evidence that stuff's getting a bit sloppy. Since 9-1, there are 4 guys that have a positive out above average in there. Can you guys name those 4 guys? Just out of curiosity.
4 guys with a positive outs above average on the team total, or just
since 1st September?
Since the 1st of September. Bobby.
Yep. Nope.
Michael Garcia.
Yep.
Michael Massey.
Yep.
MJ Melendez. I don't
know.
Okay.
No. In fact,
I was like, I'd be surprised. Yeah, that was an off the ball guess.
No, Isbell.
Yeah, Isbell. That's a good one. There's
I don't think you're going to get 4.
So besides Bobby,
it's not Hunter Renfroe.
Michael.
Nope.
It's not Salvador Perez.
DeYoung nailed it. Yep, great job. It was all those guys are the only ones above 0 in the outs above replacement. I'm gonna get to MJ, but things are not looking great for MJ. Very bad.
When you said I wouldn't guess the last one, I was like, man, I don't know where Melendez is at. The eye test says he's been pretty bad, but
yeah.
I mean, you just had that one game on the nationally televised game against Cleveland, was it?
Yeah.
Where it looked like he had never played the position before.
Yep. He's looking real lost out there, both there and at the plate anymore. But we'll talk about him. I got him on my spotlight segment this week. But that was my big takeaway for the week. Is it just seems like the last few weeks things have been getting sloppy. They need to get back to doing the fundamentals right. That needs to get taken care of and nipped in the bud immediately. It's not happening tonight because they've had the bases loaded, multiple opportunities, and has not come through with anything in those opportunities. So got to get it cleaned up before we hit that postseason stride. And good enough, they do have 10 to 11 more games to do that.
I guess for what do you think? Like, I'm just kind of taking this at face value. Like Josh, I think everything you said is correct. Like they have things to clean up, but generally speaking, like they're doing what they need to right now. Like they're taking care of business. Like I went into that series against the Yankees going, they're probably going to be competitive and lose 2 out of 3. And that's basically what happened. They had the awesome game on Tuesday when Lugo shoved and the relievers behind him did. You had a back and forth competitive game with Reagan's on the mound. And it is what it is. Like Juan Soto did Juan Soto things. Spoiler alert, he's pretty good. And that game just kind of got away from him. And then they go to Pittsburgh, turn right around. They win the first 2. And again, you're kind of in it in a game on Sunday, doesn't go your way, a couple bad breaks, and you lose a ball game, but you go away. You did what you were supposed to, winning that series in Pittsburgh against a team that you needed to beat. And now you come home and you had a Tigers team that's very frisky right now. You're obviously, you were in a dogfight last night. You're in a dogfight tonight. You got Scooble on the mound tomorrow, but you take 2 of 3 here, and then you take 2 of 3 from the Giants, which I think isn't out of the realm of possibility because I think they're going to miss Snell If not, then maybe he pitches on Sunday.
He's the finale. Yep.
He's the finale. Okay, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how their rotation, because I know he went tonight. I didn't know if they had an off day.
Yep.
But okay, no. Regardless, you're gonna miss. You got 2 games where you're not getting Blake Snell, and he's on a crazy heater right now. I think he punched out 12 against the Orioles tonight. Just keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're gonna find yourself in a playoff spot. Just, you can't backslide now, but it seems like they've kind of gotten that behind them, and keep rolling. Like, that's just what they've been doing all year.
Piggybacking off of that, and I really, really want to hear about MJ Melendez, so I'm going to try to keep mine, like a minute and a half.
You don't.
Playoff odds. Playoff odds on Tuesday morning: ESPN 98%, PlayoffStatus.com 96%, FanGraphs 96%, and Baseball Reference 95%. The Royals are going to make the playoffs. Like, barring a shit ton of stuff happening, it's going to happen. They're going to make it. So the most likely first round matchup, overwhelmingly right now, 4-5 in Baltimore on the 1st, 2nd, potentially 3rd of October. Other scenarios, you catch Cleveland 5 games back on Tuesday morning, or you catch Baltimore 2.5 games back on Tuesday morning. Catching Cleveland and beating Houston for the best record would have you as the 2 seed. You'd play the winner of the 3-6, which I think right now is Houston and Minnesota, who's kind of sliding quietly but barely holding on. Then teams to watch for the final spot would be Detroit and Seattle, still barely hanging around. So catching Baltimore in the 4-5 for host privileges is possible. But I think for all intents and purposes right now, until shown otherwise and some things change up, you can anticipate the Royals probably going to Baltimore and facing a team that, man, I'm just going to say it. If we're making picks for that series, I think I'd be picking the home team in that one, just because of how talented they are. But
they've been bad for like 2 months now, though, man.
They started off really well, and they have not been the same team since then.
The All-Star
break. Is true.
Like, I think if the Royals are going to have to go on the road, I'm not saying I feel comfy like the Royals are going to.
They caught them at the best time possible.
They're gonna fall ass backwards into the playoffs, and they're gonna have the home crowd behind them, but it's not like they're going to be going in on a roll. So,
I thought about this week. Since these are the 2 most likely scenarios, going to Baltimore or going to Houston, who would you guys rather see right now?
I think I'd still rather see Houston. I just don't. Baltimore is so talented, man. I just something about them. Yeah.
Joel, where are you at?
I mean, just based on just the trends of how they played, I mean, I don't mind playing Baltimore. Like, I don't.
Yep.
When the Royals played them earlier this year, I know that I think they split and lost 2 or 3, I think was how those series went. Or did they lose 3 or 4? Regardless, like,
I think it was lost 3 or 4.
And then they lost 2 or 3, but they were
down.
Yep, but then they were really good. Like, I think they won 1 game in Baltimore, but the other 2 games were walk-offs. So they were right there.
That's right.
I think they only got their doors blown off like 1 time by them.
Yep.
So, and like what we've seen with this team, like, they don't get blown out. They keep themselves in ball games. And with some of the attrition that Baltimore's faced as well on the pitching side, I feel pretty good about lining up Reagan's Lugo Waka in that series and just roll the ball out and see what happens.
Baltimore is 25, if my math is correct, 25 and 29 in the second half. The Royals are 29 and 24. So neither team doing great. But since the All-Star break, the Royals have been, 4 or 5 games better than the Orioles. So there's context.
I think I would rather see Baltimore in Baltimore. It's going to be a fight either way, but Houston is now for the most part healthy outside of like Justin Verlander. So you're still talking about a lineup with Altuve, Bregman, Tucker, Jordan Alvarez, Jeremy Kwan. I mean, that is a nasty lineup. And then you got a front end of the rotation that's Fromber, Kikuchi, and Hunter Brown with still Hader, Abreu, Presley, and Scott in that bullpen. And that crowd is loud. Like that, I think that Houston crowd is way more, at least it's annoying and obnoxious compared to what I've seen from Baltimore. So the other thing against Baltimore is, they're on a skid. They've lost 3 of 7. You talked about their post All-Star break record. I do think that they are still a very young group, and they got swept against the Rangers last year. Rangers went on to win the World Series, so you never know. But I would still take the matchup against a young group like Baltimore over a seasoned group of veterans like that has been there and done that so many times, like the Houston Astros are. So give me Baltimore in that scenario, but I'm still wanting that home series way more than to go to either one of those places.
Yep. All right, MJ Melendez, let's hear it.
Going into tonight, 1 of 15 this week. He had 2 plate appearances in high leverage with runners in scoring position. He struck out both of those times. On the season in high leverage situations, though, he is slashing 323, 382. I don't think this is right. 871. That can't be right, but that's still a very good line.
It'd be pretty wild.
It's not right. That's gnarly. 5 home runs, 20 RBIs. This is the guy that when Vinny went down, MJ had to be the guy to stand up. He had to be. There's not that many left-handed hitters in this lineup, definitely not with much power. MJ had to be that guy from the left side to step up and take those situations. But since Vinny went down, he's had 3 plate appearances. All 3 have been strikeouts in high leverage situations. So I don't think you can count on MJ Melendez right now. And this is why you're seeing him getting platooned, match up, and still not coming through. So things need to get right with MJ Melendez for this offense to cook to their potential. Now, we talked about the fielding. Started out pretty good, just average to just slightly above average for a lot of the time, and has slowly been trending down this entire season. Maybe it's a confidence thing. Maybe it's trying too hard at the plate type of thing, a mental obstacle he's trying to get over. But in September, just in September 1st, he has -3 outs above replacement, a -11% success rate added per Baseball Savant. He's the last on the Royals league at any position at defensive run saves at -5 on the year. He's at 2.4 UZR over 500 or 150 at bats, -6 above or outs above replacement. We thought that he has taken strides in left field on the defense, and he definitely started out and trended that way, but it has gone downhill since then. His arm strength is there, but he has one of the worst arms I've seen in left field, and I don't understand. His percentile for his arm strength is like 85th percentile, and his overall arm value is like 52. That's how bad his accuracy is. It's so piss poor that it's tough to watch even in left field. He's made some great plays out there. He's saved some games. He has hit home runs in clutch situations, but he just needs to get into that situation before they hit the postseason in order for them to be counting on him in any high capacity. And they need it. The offense needs it, 100% needs it. So MJ, let's need to step it up here in this last 10 games or so.
I'm going to do a rare putting Joel third here because I just want to keep it in the outfield with Kyle Isbell. Kyle Isbell, and this is kind of in my summary for him, he is what he is at this point. And that can be both a good thing and a bad thing. You're going to get elite defense from him, or at least very good defense. 0.3 UZR after 5 last year, but 11 outs above average back-to-back seasons, 90th percentile fielding run value. The outfielder jump stuff is all great. So defensively, still Kyle Isbell making really good decisions on the base pads this year, very quietly. Career highs in stolen bases, runner runs. He's a clear positive, aggressive and successful on advance opportunities. So he's been good there. He's not striking out much. The whiff rate's under 20% for the first time ever. The K rate is under 20% for the second year in a row. And then he's doing pretty well against righties. He has a 93 WRC plus. His career is an 80, and that's always skewed a little bit towards the right-handed side. The flip side of him, he doesn't hit the ball hard. 30th percentile or worse in exit velo, hard hit rate, 15th or worse in expected slugging and barrel rate. He has a career high ISO for a full season and a career high in home runs. So this is the best quote unquote power output you're getting from Kyle Isbell, and it's still very bad. And then he doesn't offer much else value at the plate. He had a very, very good month of June. And since then, he just hasn't really been doing anything. A 676 OPS, 32nd percentile expected batting average overall, plate discipline stuff, all very in line with his career. And against lefties on the season, I'll give both of you a guess. What is his WRC plus against lefties? I'll go to Joel first.
15.
Okay, Josh.
I think it's higher for some reason. I'm
It
going to
is.
say 89.
It's 35 with
Okay,
a 491
so way wrong.
OPS. Yeah, so for his career, it's 72. So an 80 to 72 split. This year, it has been very, very, very bad. I'm striking out 30% of the time against lefties. So what you have with Kyle Bell, excellent, good to excellent defender in center field. Sneaky, decent base runner. I think I wouldn't call him very good. I wouldn't call him great, but sneaky, solid. He's the same old Kyle Bell that played. I know that he's played a full season this year. He's been healthier. The numbers have kind of came and went a bit. He's under club control for, I think it's age 28, 9, and 30 the next 3 seasons. So he's worth keeping around. Absolutely. I think that the optimal thing for him is like a Kevin Kiermaier light type comparison. And that's kind of what he is when he's out there right now. But in an ideal world, they find a way to upgrade in center field, I think. And Kyle Bell has definitely answered the question of, is he the long-term center fielder? No. Is he a long-term center fielder? Depending on the capacity you use him. And I think the answer is pretty much yes. So
this is not to poke holes in your point, but just something interesting. And it's a smaller sample than what you noted. Our good buddy Alex Duvall just tweeted this out 4 minutes ago. That's why I see it. Royals weighted runs created plus since August 30th. So again, smaller sample, but since calendar turn to September, as we're getting into the last few months of the year. Kyle Bell has a 123 WRC plus, and that's the highest.
He's been good. He had a huge week either last week or the week before.
He can do that. And I think he has games where it's like, oh yeah, that's why they have him in the 9 holes, like a de facto second leadoff guy. And the numbers don't bear it out, but I feel like when he comes up 9-hole running scoring position, he'll go through stretches of 2 weeks where he just drives guys in. And then another month where he comes up every time with the runner on second and he strikes out. It's like, okay,
the highs with him are awesome. I mean, and he's worth 1.5, 2 wins. Like, he's not a bad player at all. It's just
what they're asking him to be. It's perfect. It's go play good defense in one of the hardest places to play center field, and don't be a disaster at the plate.
And he hasn't been
basically done that. So, like, I understand people are like, what does he do? I'm like, okay, like, I don't know. Like, I understand not everyone can be 2015 Lorenzo Cain in center field. Not everyone can be Mike Trout. Like, every player is different, but Kyle Bell plays very, very, very good defense. And he is a solid enough hitter that you can handle him being 20% below league average, because what else he does well is enough for him to be a valuable player.
Yeah, he's just one that you can get by.
And just trying to find like a bat first center fielder that can also play a functional center field.
Easier said
That's
than
tough. That's so hard.
Those are called all-star level
100%.
And I know that some people will want them to upgrade and try and find a guy that is way more provides way more offensive value and sacrifice defense. I know that it's a different regime. The Dayton Moore regime is like, no, we are not going to. We want a good defender out there, and we'll sacrifice a little bit of value. Considering they've run Kyle Bell out there for 2 years in a row, tells me that they're probably going to do the same thing, and they are okay with a little bit less offensive value than paired with very, very good defense. They're not going to flip that.
You throw MJ Melendez in left and Hunter Renfroe in right. You need some kind of outfield presence out there.
That is my comment. If the Royals make improvements in the corner and they figure out what they're going to do with Michael Garcia and Michael Massey is, there, whatever. Like, if Kyle Bell's the second worst hitter you have, or the worst hitter you have, maybe even 7th if everything's going well, like, you can totally get by with that, considering the defense, leadership, affordability. The value he provides for what he's getting paid is fantastic. It's great. Now, then you get in the conversation in the weeds of someone who can actually hit pretty well and also hold down an acceptable defense. And those are called, 2.5, 3, 3.5 win players at Kauffman Stadium. So it's tough. I came into the year being very much not believing that Kyle Bell was going to do what he did this year. He's been a little bit better than I expected. And I think that there's a wide range between props for the best year of his career and also, thinking about how he fits in the outfield long term.
He's the first year of arbitration next year.
We're gonna have this combo in 2 months for sure. Again.
Yeah. I thought we've been having this Kyle Isbell talk like since 2014. Seems like it's been a while, so it surprises me that he's just an ARB1. So we're not even talking like a DFA next year. You're still
No,
paying him to
not
be
at
a
all.
fourth outfielder regardless.
Yeah. Joel,
You got Alec Marsh.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about the outing that he had on Friday against the Pirates. I don't
Yes,
think
please.
it's hyperbolic to say that was his best outing of the year. Like
Yeah.
11 strikeouts and 5 1/3, looked absolutely dominant. Now the Pirates are not the 27 Yankees, but it's still a big league lineup, and he went out there and shoved when they needed it, coming off of that sort of brutal loss on Wednesday against the Yankees. 96 pitches, 5 1/3. Didn't get through the 6, but I think that just given the strikeouts and the guy being able to keep runners off base, only 2 walks, really, really good stuff there. 36 of those pitches were called strikes or whiffs. That's 38%. That's for those that want to know, that's a really, really high number. He had 18 whiffs and 18 called strikes. So it was split down the middle there. And of those 18 whiffs, 7 on the curveball, 5 on the slider, and 3 on the 4-seam fastball. And what I do think is interesting is when you look at the run values on Baseball Savant, his 4-seam fastball is way better than his sinker. His 4-seam is one of his highest value pitches, and his sinker is not. He threw 29% sinkers in this start and got 9 swings, 1 whiff, and 8 called strikes of those 28 pitches. So varying the mix. He was throwing his slider more than a sweeper, and he has talked about a lot that his sweeper, when it's on, is one of his best breaking offerings, and he only threw 2 of them all night. So he's throwing that kind of gyro slider a little bit more. Could have been a feel thing in the bullpen. He's talked about that some nights, like the sweeper just with the grip. If it's kind of hot and, if it's not as like humid and you can't quite get a little more tack on the ball with some rosin, then he can't quite rip it the same way. So it could have just been a feel. But again, the ability to vary pitches. He threw sinker, slider, curveball, 4-seam, 28, 24, 19, 19. So he wasn't leaning on one particular pitch. He was mixing it up quite a bit, kind of like Seth Lugo. I'm sure that there's some wisdom imparted there and being able to mix up your stuff a lot rather than kind of, not to take a shot, but like the Brady Singer of sinker, slider, sinker, slider, sinker, slider, just kind of spamming 2 pitches. Being able to go after 4 there, I think that made a massive difference in his start. So we've talked about it a lot, and I don't want to belabor the point because we've talked about it quite a bit, that he's going to be a weapon in the bullpen in October. What he is going to be able to provide for this team could be a difference maker in a playoff series. And I'm not trying to be too hyperbolic or exaggerate. That's the kind of value that Alec Marsh can provide if he continues to pitch like this. The fastball velocity was around 94. He's been up to 98 this year in spurts. You give him 1 inning where he can let that fastball go, 98, 99, with the really good slider, if he has the sweeper and the curveball. He's got 4 offerings that I feel really comfortable giving him. He could be one of those high leverage guys in the 7th inning. You could go theoretically Marsh, Bubich, Ursig, 7, 8, 9. That's a pretty tasty back end to pause to get through, a high leverage situation in a game, in a playoff series, to be able to, to win a game.
Yeah.
And it also, Sam Long's been awesome, and I'm not trying but again, it kind of pushes him back a little bit, takes a little bit of pressure off him. He can maybe be a guy that you give a muddy inning to. And then a Michael Lorenzen you can give a muddy inning to because he's got some relief experience. John Schreiber, you give a clean inning to. It just kind of pushes everybody back. And Alec Marsh, with the stuff that he has, the strikeout stuff that he has, plop him in the 7th, and we're talking, it could make that series in Baltimore, if that's what it is, really, really interesting.
And if you have a start where Lugo struggles like he did last night, or if Reagan struggles he grinds through it. Bass didn't give a lot of earn runs, but his pitch count comes up. You get to the 5th inning, you don't want to throw him out there for the heart of a lineup. So go get Marsh, go get Lynch, give one of those guys those, that run through the lineup for an inning or 2 and let him bridge that gap to the back of that bullpen. It's you're right, 100%. Marsh is going to be awesome.
And then really quickly, I just want to hit on this point. because it is very interesting, and we don't have to spend too much time on it because it's a really small sample. And I tweeted it before the game, before we got on here. Yuli Gurriel being a functional net positive in this lineup is like 2007 App State Michigan upset of the because when we talk about it, we're like, sure, I don't know. Like I have no idea what
my words in the group text were not particularly kind.
But yeah, regardless, he's got a 143 WRC plus for this team. And he's walking 15%, and he's hitting the crap out of the ball. Like,
Is he?
Yes, his average exit velocity is 94.5, and that's not including tonight where he hit a ball about 104.
I would not have guessed.
You have to go back to like 2019 to find any like red in his Savant page.
If you look at his baseball Savant now, there's not enough data
Sure.
for him to qualify. So there's no actual percentiles, but they have like the bar that shows red. It's red almost across the board when you look at average or expected batting average, expected slugging, bat speed, which I was shocked to see. It's above average bat speed. It's a hard hit rate of 62.5%. The launch angle sweet spot percentage is in the upper 90th. So, and the expected weighted on base average is 363. That's like around the 80, like probably around 80-ish. So him being able to do this, again, it's going to factor into a playoff series, which I did not expect at all. I thought maybe this just helps bridge for a month until, you get to October, and then maybe he's just in the clubhouse for vibes like Johnny Gomes or Raul Ibanez. But you're going to give that dude at bats. Like, he's going to start against lefties, and he's going to pinch hit late in games.
Rather see him than Garrett Hampson.
He's going to put together a really good at bat, and he's going to hit the crap out of the ball when he does make contact, which for a dude that's 40, I mean, he's
a man.
Incredibly impressive.
He's 40.
He's 40.
You know what I love about baseball? Earlier in the season, when we were talking about like who we trust out of the bullpen, I said that Matt Sauer was like in my circle of trust, like number 3 out of like everyone on the entire roster. That didn't last very long. Obviously, he had 15 runs allowed in 8 innings at AAA for the Yankees. I just wanted to provide that update. Now, in his last 15 innings at AA, after he got demoted, he has a 0.6 ERA. So my guy is on the road to redemption. But that just like shows we're just doing sample size stuff here. We at least I don't know any ball. I don't know what sparked that. I think Joel was talking about like the configuration of 7, 8, 9 or whatever. I was like, I wonder what Matt Sauer's doing. Let me open this tab. The Royals move is definitely justified, and my hype was not. But anyway, Alec Marsh is going to.
Brett Phillips is my guy like that, and then I had to.
You
go
sent
check
that to the chat the other day. It was rough.
Yeah, he's not doing so hot in that quest for becoming a pitcher. But hey, we're still early in that process. I'm never going to count that guy out. I love him so much.
Yep. He's not been Alec Marsh so far, but he will finish up. Alec will against Detroit on Wednesday. Then Waka, Singer, Lugo against the Giants, and Reagan's TBD and Waka against Washington. Guys, we got bets, and 2 of us won last week. 1 of us did not. I'm going to go to the guy who took an unfortunate L last week in Joel Penfield. What do you have this time?
So I'm sticking my neck out here, and I know this is going to be bold because the dude's going to win the Cy Young and probably the pitching Triple Crown, but I think the Royals are going to get a straight-up win against Tarek Skubal on Wednesday. Some numbers to back this up here. So this season, he's faced the Royals 3 times, 4.91 ERA, 10 earned runs in those 18 and a third innings. In his career against the Royals, it's 14 starts or 12 starts, 14 games, 5.05 ERA and 71 and a third innings, 40 earned runs, 13 home runs given up in 66 hits. So they kind of get to him a little bit more than other teams. It's the 4.91 ERA is the highest of any team he's faced at least 3 times this season. And minimum 10 starts in his career against a certain team, it's the highest ERA of his career. He's got a couple, 7+ ERAs, but it's like 3 starts in his career against like the Cardinals and the Cubs. So the Royals get to Tarek Skubal more than other teams. And the last time he came to Kaufman this year, they roughed him up a little bit. Just something to keep in mind, that I think they can get it done.
It's a good thing that is going to happen, because my bet this week is that the Tigers win this game tonight. Took a weird leap of faith on the game tonight and wanted to take the Detroit Tigers money line. They look like a hungrier team right now. And I looked up some stats after when Seth Lugo struggles this year. The Royals are 4-2. It's a pretty mixed bag of pitching performances after those. So those stats that I come up with does not help my case at all. So we're just Captain Fade. We're feeling it in our plums that the Tigers win this game. But it's okay, because Joel's also going to win his bet tomorrow, and the Royals are going to at least take one game, which is what they need from this series tomorrow. So the Royals win will come. It's just going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be tonight. So we're definitely not live. But if we are live betting, I might take a little bit of the Detroit money line right now.
The Royals are making the playoffs only because Josh has faded them in the last month and a half of the season. I'm doing the exact opposite. I think they're going to take the dub against Blake Snell on Sunday. Blake Snell, a 3.52 ERA before he shoved on Tuesday night. The 988 OPS he is allowed to Kansas City is the worst of any opponent he's ever faced in his career. So he does not fare well against Kansas City. On the flip side of that, the current San Francisco hitters have a 483 career OPS against one Seth Lugo. So the numbers are telling us that Blake Snell is going to not have a good game and Seth Lugo is going to absolutely dominate. So maybe the exact opposite happens, but I'm at 11-10. I'm trying to preserve that above 500 record. I will not have a losing season. I'm not quite Mike Tomlin level because this is my first time tracking it, but very excited about that. We kind of went quite a while before hitting minor leagues here, and we did that for a reason, because there's not a lot to talk about. AAA Omaha series against Louisville right now, I believe next week from now, they're playing the IL Championship Series against TBD. At least that's who it was on Tuesday morning.
Probably Columbus.
Yes, probably Columbus. And Josh mentioned on last week's show that was kind of setting up for a nice little matchup. The Cleveland affiliate, Northwest Arkansas, didn't make it, guys. 66-71 overall. They were just above 500 in the first half and 6 games below in the second half. Quad A, or Quad Cities, sorry, and High A also did make it. Past their division series against Wisconsin. Yeah, lost games 1 and 2 against their. Caught myself. Then Columbia, 68-63. I want to say was the record. They didn't have a very good second half. So that's
before we move on, the 2 losses for the Quad Cities. Did you happen to see those?
I did not.
They were brutal.
I missed both
of
them.
And then they were up 6-3 in the 9th and gave up a 4th spot to lose and clinch.
I don't think it was 6-3. I think it was they were tied going into the 9th. They had the top of the 9th. It went leadoff single, wild pitch gets him to second, reach on error. Guy on second goes to third. Sack fly scores Omar Hernandez from third. Throwing error scores Justin Johnson from third. And then Wisconsin comes back down 2 in the bottom of the 9th. Ben Sears pitching, been their closer, been really, really good all year. He did finish up the 8th, so he's not coming in. He did bail him out on that, but walks the leadoff hitter. Next hitter hits a single. Third hitter hits a single, so bases loaded. Ground ball, fielder's choice, gets it out of second. Runner scores. Next batter, the runner steals first, steals second. The next hitter hits a single. Runner on third scores. Runner on second gets thrown out at the plate. And then the hitter goes to second. Next hitter hits a single to walk it off. So absolute chaos in the 9th inning in that second game of the divisional round they eventually lost. But shout out to the Quad Cities. I mean, that is the bulk right now. They kind of ended the season with a bulk of the upper level prospects that are in this organization. So if that's what the squad is going in, next year, hopefully a lot of those guys, finish up in Quad Cities, go to AA pretty quickly. But it was nice to see not just one in Omaha making the postseason, but now we had 2 that lived up to the postseason hype and did something good. So shout out to the Quad City River Bandits and their season.
Yep, absolutely. The Royals did announce some organizational minor league awards this week. I believe on Monday, Austin Charles won the Alex Gordon Heart and Hustle Award. I have his stats. I know that they're not directly tied. Some of these are completely separate from the stats.
What is that award?
I don't know. I don't know what the award is.
don't
I was like, when I read it, I was like, okay, like cool, but I have no clue what the award is.
I don't know either. I don't either.
Looking
Shame
it
on
up
me.
just in case.
Okay.
My
Cool.
my wonder is like if they had a big jump from what they did last season. That was my only guess because last year in Columbia, he went from an 82 WRC plus last year to a 121,
and he had a
this
full go
season,
round
so
again.
pretty.
So
Yes,
it is
yep.
super vague and kind of subjective.
Love
but
that.
JJ has a statement saying it's everything you should want to be when it comes to playing baseball: work ethic, preparation, drive, all that sort of stuff. So
I like it.
I guess it's
Those are
kind
a
of
lot
the
of buzzwords.
behind the scenes work, I guess. is
Sneaky
kind of
athletic, first one in, last one out.
I don't think Austin Charles is
coach's
sneaky
kid.
athletic. I think he's pretty damn athletic.
Yeah, he's not sneaking up on anybody with that athleticism.
Yeah, he did well. He played 547 innings at third and then 399 at shortstop.
He was
So
really
kind of
good the last
Yeah.
like month and a half or so.
Yep.
Definitely a guy to watch next year that could pop.
In
I know
in a weird hitting environment in Columbia too.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of the lower levels of the minor leagues right now because there's a lot there. Yeah. I'll talk about it another time, but I can have more elaborate thoughts.
I like it.
Blake Mitchell, hitter of the year, 141 WRC plus in 106 games. He struck out a lot, but all the peripherals elsewhere were very, very promising. He is the only, or I guess was the only player in minor league baseball age 20 or younger with 18 home runs and 25 or more stolen bases. So very promising year from him for a catcher. His future is bright, and I think this year all he did, even with the strikeout rate people keep bringing up, was remind that that's the case.
Yeah, and again, kind of similar to the previous thought about weird environments. Like,
yes,
a lot of dudes are going to low A right now with no idea how to pitch, and so like there's only so much. Sure, I think Blake Mitchell's always going to strike out to some degree. I don't think it's going to be as drastic as we saw in low A because a lot of those dudes have no idea where the ball is going. They're trying to put the ball in play. Like, guys, there's a lot more development that's happening on the fly, I think is really kind of what it boils down to because they took away rookie ball and just made it the complex. So short, basically they're sending guys that probably aren't ready for affiliated ball to affiliated ball because that's just where they have to send them because they can't keep them in the complex forever.
Yep.
I will say he had the highest WRC plus of all qualified hitters outside of rookie ball in the organization. So it's nice that last year was Tyler Tolbert, had a good season, but almost like a participation trophy a little bit because they just didn't have any good hitters in the organization last year. Spent most of this year as a 19-year-old. He had the sixth highest WRC plus in all of major or minor league baseball as far as like 19-year-old hitters that didn't spend a significant time in rookie ball. So the sixth best 19-year-old in the minor leagues, and you have him at catcher. That's not too shabby.
Very impressive. Carson Roccaforte, very impressive on the defensive side. 1,000+ innings in center field, only one error. We knew he was a good defender. 85 WRC plus in 122 games at high A. We did periodic checkpoints with him, and it was really bad, and then it was absolutely terrible, and then it was rock bottom, and then he kind of worked his way back up. So he is not back in the circle of trust, I think, but he is. He has the opportunity to start next season. So kudos to him for that. Javier Vaz, I think, with the funnest award out of all of these, the Mike Sweeney Community Impact Award. His numbers do not, factor into that, but he had a 118 WRC plus 115 games at AA. I think we've all historically been pro Javier Vaz, so another reason to keep that going, I think.
Gonna be a big
Anybody
league
know,
in 2025.
Yep.
It seems like a great dude. I don't know much of it, like his actual impact on it. I did see the Raising Royals account did put out like an interview about the Roberto Clemente is a big influence on him, and they did a Javier Vaz was talking about his influence and impact on the community of baseball, but also like the Puerto Rican community as well. So it was a nice note. I just don't know. He seems like a great dude. I just don't know anything about it outside of that.
The pitcher of the year, Steven Zobak. We talked about him, I think, a couple pods ago. It might have been last week, actually. 3.64 ERA across high A and double A, 5.6% walk rate. Just very, very solid year for him. And it wasn't one of those where the ERA and the FIP like had a big discrepancy in the wrong way. It was the right way for him. 60, 70, 80 points below what the ERA actually was. Good strikeout numbers. The walk rate, as I mentioned, pretty low. He had like 125 innings combined between those two levels. So got some good work in. I think that climbed up the prospect rankings and for good reason. I think that we're all kind of in agreement that the future is pretty bright for him, and he had a solid year.
Yeah, I was slow to get on that bandwagon, and I'm still kind of leery about it because he's about to turn 24, and he's just kind of dabbling in Double-A. So I think that's a little bit of a red flag, but can't take that away from his good year. He had a
he's
very good
about
year.
league average age, so to me, it's not too like if he was closer.
But
to
he
like
just
if
broke
he was
in the Double-A this year,
or if he's
just breaking in.
Yeah, but
If
I
he
mean,
was
he was
like
still awesome at Double-A. It's not like
he got better. Like
and he got better when he got
He got
Double-A,
better
which is
at Double-A.
crazy because a lot of like that is the biggest jump. So I don't even think like he was so good at Double-A. I don't even know if they send him back there. Like I think he could be flirting with
Be fun.
heading to Triple-A, and then it's just waiting for a spot because I think he was so good that he could be a dude at a minimum in the big league bullpen next season.
No surprise whatsoever. Tyler Tolbert is the base runner of the year, 48 stolen bases between Double-A and Triple-A. He had a very quiet but very solid 100 WRC plus in Double-A, Triple-A. Not going to reference the stats there. They were not good, but also a small sample, and still made his impact on the base paths. So plenty to like about the minor leagues. I think that once the season and postseason presumably end, that we'll kind of do an overarching minor league recap episode, something like that, or at least a really big segment. So awards there. Kudos to everyone. That's my toast game. I think just to everyone who got an award. I think the game against the Giants on the 20th is when they're going to be honored pregame with a little ceremony. So hats off to them, and whatever you guys have for a toast game on the way out here.
Toast game to Chris Bubich and Lucas Ursig for making the back end of games a lot less sweaty.
And I'm pretty sweaty. It's very sweaty out here. My toast game is the Royals staff for this turnaround. It is probably going to fall short of anything historic. I think they have to go 9-2 in the last 11 games to tie that 98-99 Arizona Diamondbacks turnaround. So that's probably unlikely, but still, we're talking about a top 2, top 3 turnarounds between year to year in the divisional era. We're talking about that doesn't happen without a top to bottom belief that this can happen, that the culture is there. They did turn that around, and that should go to the credit of everybody working for the Royals in any capacity, whether that be John Sherman decided to open up the checkbook and spend some money on some guys. That is the front office winning trades, like hitting on those guys that they sign. That's coaching, that's development, that's the players for what they're doing in their hard work. That's the trainers for having an unreal run for health, especially in that rotation. Everybody on that Royals staff deserves a toast, and they should get so much credit for how this year has been turned around so well. And then last but not least, the fans. The fans have kept the momentum all year. They are selling a lot of seats. Every game so far is still feeling like a postseason game already. And this is late in the year. The Chiefs are playing. College football is on. There's kids activities galore going on, and people are still coming out to Kauffman. You guys are still coming out to Kauffman. The players are feeding off that energy. Keep that energy up. Let's deliver this down the stretch. Let's go.
We're going to talk about it next week. I think that we went through and did here's the magic number. If this happens, then this, then maybe that. We're thinking that, it's not going to be a clinch scenario per se, but the magic number is dwindling down, and mathematically a lot of stuff is possible. So postseason baseball, I would say, is coming to Kansas City, or Kansas City is going to postseason baseball. Not official yet, but for all probability, looking pretty good. So until next week, take care, stay safe, and we'll talk to you a week from now. See you later, guys.